Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kseniya and I make videos for people who, like myself, are going through the family immigration process. I'm not an immigration attorney. My videos are based on publicly available information, my own experience, and the experience of my subscribers. And the purpose of my channel is to give you guys the confidence to go through this process completely on your own. In today's video, I wanted to talk about 10 most common reasons why people receive requests for evidence, also known as RFEs, related to their adjustment of status application, specifically in regards to the affidavit of support. The first issue you will run into is trying to understand, or I would better say decipher, what the RFE letter actually wants from you. Unfortunately, the requests for evidence that most applicants receive are very generic. It is not at all specific to your particular circumstance. Maybe you have made only one little mistake on the form, or perhaps you have made several mistakes, but what you will notice is that the RFE will not actually state what in particular was the mistake in your application. Reason number one, your most recent year's tax returns did not meet the poverty guidelines or just made it above the poverty guidelines. Although USCIS refers to the I-864P poverty guidelines based on the household size, which they use to determine whether a sponsor qualifies, in reality, the amount of income they are looking for is way above the guidelines that they have listed on their own website, especially if you're only relying on the most recent year's tax returns. And that's the other thing you need to keep in mind, is that unfortunately USCIS only cares about your tax returns. I know that there have been people in the past who have been trying to argue with me that it is your current income that really matters to USCIS. In reality, you're way more likely to not only receive a request for evidence, but also get your case denied completely if your previous year's tax returns do not meet the poverty guidelines, or I would rather say do not significantly exceed the poverty guidelines. If your case is at the NVC, they may be able to approve your case based on your current individual income. However, USCIS is a lot stricter in that regard. If the amounts listed on line 24A of your affidavit of support is below or at poverty guidelines, you're almost guaranteed to receive a request for evidence. The second reason is that you, as the sponsor, had a tax filing extension. Every year, the tax filing deadline is April 15th or sometimes April 18th. You need to make sure that you are providing your most recently filed tax returns that would have been required to be filed by that tax filing deadline. For example, if you are submitting your application in May 2024, that means that the most recently filed tax returns included with your affidavit of support need to be the 2023 tax returns. USCIS is a federal agency and they follow federal tax filing deadlines. They do not care individual persons or individual states' tax filing extensions. Reason number three, you are self-employed, a business owner, or a retired sponsor. I do have a specific video discussing what kind of evidence is required from sponsors who are business owners or self-employed. If you choose to go that route, you will need to provide extensive evidence, which I discussed in that particular video. However, if you are already at the stage of request for evidence, a lot of applicants opt into using a joint sponsor rather than having to obtain a lot of their business-related tax returns and income information. When it comes to retired sponsors, here is another situation where USCIS says, on the other hand, that they technically receive retirement income, but it is only accepted as long as it is listed on the total income line, line 9 of your tax returns. Reason number four, you did not calculate the household size correctly. The household size calculations can be quite tricky because a lot of times people make the mistake of only counting anyone in the household size who is listed on the sponsor's tax returns. However, if you read the form instructions, you will see that USCIS wants you to count All unmarried children under the age of 21, even if they're not in your custody, or unless they have reached the age of majority in your state or country, which in our country is 18. Even if you do not have legal custody of a particular child, you still need to count them in your household size. Another issue I frequently see is the household size being calculated correctly. However, the form is rejected because you were unable to overwrite a glitch or a bug that occurs when you're filling out the affidavit of support on your computer. So there's a very common difficulty with this form when you type in different numbers to the household size to count the people in your household, but the total household number doesn't seem to change. And sometimes applicants will use a pen to simply write a correct number on top of the number 1 that doesn't change in the form. I have 2 dedicated videos that describe how to solve this issue. It is workable, and you need to make sure that when you're filling out the form, it is filled out neatly. Reason number 5. This issue occurs for those sponsors who file their tax returns jointly with their spouse. They include tax return information, but they forget to include their individual W-2s or 1099s. I have a dedicated video for those of you who are filing your tax returns jointly with your spouse, who would like to use only your individual income. And in that particular video, I tell you how to fill out respective parts of the form if you're only choosing to use your own income, and what evidence you will need to include in that situation. And in order for USCIS to distinguish which income is yours, meaning the sponsor, they will need to see a copy of all of your W-2s and 1099s. Reason number 6, you did not include the I-864 from the petitioner. Perhaps the reason was that the petitioning sponsor makes absolutely no income or doesn't make enough income. So you did the right thing by opting in to using a co-sponsor who filled out the affidavit of support. However, you forgot to include the affidavit of support from the petitioning sponsor. Reason number 7, you did not submit complete tax records with your file. Some applicants make the mistake of sending only the first few pages of their tax returns, even if it is hundreds of pages long. And this is a very common reason why USCIS sends a request for evidence. In some cases, you may choose to obtain a tax transcript instead directly from the IRS website, which may be a little bit shorter as opposed to the IRS Form 1040. Reason number 8. This one tends to be a little bit more complex, but this is the one where the discretion of the reviewing officer comes into play. And the reason is your income looks inconsistent. For example, you indicate on the affidavit of support that your current individual income is close to $70,000 a year. But on the next page, on line 24A, you have indicated that your tax return information showed your income of about $30,000 for the previous year. The USCIS officer in that case can make a judgment and determine that the income that you have provided seems inconsistent. Reason number 9, you did not write the correct amounts on lines 24A through 24C on your affidavit of support. Lines 24A through C ask you to provide total income exactly as listed on the total income line on your tax returns. Specifically, it is line 9 on the Form 1040. Some people, instead of writing whatever is written on their tax returns, will simply take all of their 1099s or W-2s and combine those numbers together. You need to make sure that whatever the number you're writing in 24A through C is consistent exactly as it is written on the total income line of your tax returns. And reason number 10, last but not least, is you simply made a logistical error on your application. Some of the most common logistical errors I see is, again, miscalculating the household size or not writing it neatly. Perhaps the other reason is maybe you did not include all pages of the Form I-864. Maybe you did not print the form with the barcode at the bottom, which is another common reason why USCIS rejects a lot of applications is while printing, you cut off the barcode at the bottom of the application. The other logistical reason could be that you did not sign the form in black ink, or maybe you simply forgot to provide evidence of your domicile or evidence of your status as a US citizen or a permanent resident. So these were the 10 most common reasons why I see a lot of people receive requests for evidence. I hope that after watching this video, you were able to compare it to your personal form and application, and perhaps you were able to resolve these issues. Please share your experience in the comments below. Let me know if you have any additional questions, but before you do, definitely check out the playlist that I made specifically dedicated to the affidavit of support, which will answer most, if not all, of your questions. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I hope to see you guys in my next video. Bye!